George Miller, better known as Joji, has made a well-known name for himself over the past few years, releasing 2 full-length projects under the name Joji, 2 more projects under Pink Eye, an unreleased project that never saw the light of day, a new album releasing in the summer. George has cemented himself as a name you shouldn't overlook. But where did George come from, and how did he take a platform that he continued to grow on and use it to pursue his true passion, transforming from the infamous meme lord Filthy Frank to the mellow, soulful Joji? This is the story of singer-songwriter George Miller.
Will your tongue still remember the taste of my lips, my lips, my lips?
George Kusunoki Miller was born on September 18, 1992 in Osaka, Japan, to a Japanese mother and an Australian father. But that's about as much as we really know about Joji's family life. Joji manages to keep his personal life private. There's little to anything that he himself speaks on the topic. The most I could find was a statement from a user on Reddit saying that indeed his mom was Japanese and his father was Australian, and that his father was a priest and that he had a sister who disliked him. However, take this with a grain of salt, because as I said before, Joji keeps his personal life private, and it's always been that way, even through his days as Filthy Frank. But we do know that growing up in Japan, Joji managed to gain a grasp on American culture and humor through the internet. He also began to show interest in music at a young age, beginning to produce music as far back as being in 5th grade.
Around the time I was in 5th grade or 6th grade, that was when A Milli came out by Lil Wayne, and I was like, this is fucking cool, I want to recreate the beat. And then I recreated it, and I showed it to my friends at school, and they were like, whoa, like, how'd you do this? And I was like, you just recreated it.
While living in Japan, Joji's love for music and songwriting grew. He says that he used to practice songwriting on the back of receipts as he worked at a Japanese convenience store.
But I had it in there. Joji used to work at a Family Mart. Can you speak to that? What do you remember about working at Family Mart?
Actually, it was a Lawson's.
It was a Lawson's.
It's the same thing. I say Family Mart because that's where everyone knows more, but it was a Lawson's. You know, I did the night shift. It was chill. The only people that came in at night were like truckers and stuff. So that's actually where I wrote a lot of music when I was younger, just like on the back of receipts.
Just the night shift at Lawson's?
Yeah, the night shift at Lawson's was fire.
In 2008, at age 16, Joji creates the channel Disaster Music. He uploads videos with his school friends, clearly having fun as kids, and intended to use that channel as a means to push his love for making music. It is in high school where Joji truly falls in love with making music, and it becomes a real passion of his. Joji mentions that he would make music about other people, about teachers, and about anything that he wanted. Apparently, Joji has a plethora of unreleased music from about this time of his life.
I was growing up with, I had 2 friends that we always made music together. And we were making songs before we knew we were making songs. Like we'd be silly and we'd make songs about like, you know, a teacher, or like if we were like making fun of a kid, we'd make a song about a kid, which, you know, never do that. But, you know, we were doing that kind of stuff. And then one day, I think we were in like 6th grade or something, someone steps in and it's just like, wait, these are actual songs. And we're like, what? Like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, like, you know, like it's not easy to make a song. So from there we were like, oh, we're making songs, that's cool. And we just kept kind of making songs. And through that, like just through fucking around, we learned how to produce, how to, you know, just train our voices, and just kind of learn from the internet what was popping all throughout then, because that was when the internet was starting to kick off. And we were learning, and there's a lot of unreleased stuff that, cause like there's stuff from like 7 years ago. So there's stuff from high school that I listened to, and it's like good enough to maybe put out as like a 30-second thing, but like it can never evolve into something greater. But obviously I'm not gonna put those to waste. Like I'll either save those for like maybe one day, like a collective of just like, I'd like to release a little mixtape of all the beats and things that I've put together.
It is also worth noting the real about section of this Disaster Music YouTube channel. It says, "These videos are not an accurate representation of my comedy whatsoever. This style of comedy limits me from what I can actually do. I have real material which I would like to share with the world eventually. Until then, I welcome you to a terrible place on the internet." This is clearly a nod to his work in music. You see, George never came to YouTube with the intention of becoming Filthy Frank and creating the presence that he did. He says that that kind of content was what got attraction, so he just stuck with it. He always knew that he could produce better. It is later on this channel that George makes his first appearance as Filthy Frank, Pink Guy, and other characters that appear in the show. George originally creates the Filthy Frank character as a sort of anti-vlog, anti-hero of YouTube character. It was supposed to be that kind of character that you disliked. That was the intention.
Hey guys, it's Filthy Frank. Bigger, faster, and stronger. Kinda like my dick. So I have another story to share with you guys. As you know, school's probably started for a lot of you, and you're all thinking, yeah, I'm so happy, oh look at me, I get to go to school, ah! False. I'd personally shove a big branch up my ass.
It is also on this channel that his very first full song ever shown to the public is put out. Titled Who's the Sucker, this song was a very clear parody on the gangster rap genre.
Just when you thought we couldn't get any nicer, we go around the place looking for that vagina. Right when we were about to go to bed, this sucker came up and he started to said.
At 18, Joji moved to America and attended college in Brooklyn, New York, attending the New York Institute of Technology. While attending, he continued to create videos for the Disaster Music channel, cementing his place as a living meme. His videos were a mix of offensive and out-of-pocket humor, which created a shock factor and attracted audiences. While in this time of his life growing his YouTube persona, George's love for making music never fades, and he continues to produce as a hobby. Then, in February of 2013, while slightly intoxicated and hanging out with some college friends, Joji records and posts the original Harlem Shake video, and then seemingly overnight, everybody was doing the Harlem Shake.
And do the Harlem Shake.
It was me and a couple friends in a room, and this was when, you know, EDM was like popping, like EDM trap was like coming in, you know what I mean? And so this new song comes on, like my friend's playing it, and I thought, oh, that's a like it was like a cool slash like funny song, you know what I mean? And I knew that. I was like, this is like it's a funky kind of thing, you know? We were intoxicated, and we were just doing this, and then to the drop, we went crazy, went to sleep, woke up in the morning, everyone's doing it. We thought, wow, this is fucking stupid. And then as time goes by, more and more people are doing it. And, you know, I didn't quite understand it, but I wasn't bitter about it at all. I was interested in it. It was the first physical worldwide meme.
The Harlem Shake became one of the first internet crazes. Millions of people were doing the Harlem Shake, all because of this group of drunk college kids. After this, George's channel gained a wide following, and his content started to become watched by more and more.
Can I have a pussy, please?
George continues to develop his characters and personas more, and more content is posted to the Disaster Music channel. This is the beginning of Filthy Frank and also the start of its downfall. On May 3rd, 2014, the video Filthy Frank Exposes Himself is uploaded to the Disaster Music channel. In this video, George attempts to talk to his fans as his real self away from the characters about what he's been struggling with medically and mentally running the channel, and how he can keep himself healthy.
So I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. I have not been well the last couple months. Long story short, I was born with this, but I was recently diagnosed with a brain condition that ironically gives me seizures. But unfortunately, what happens here is a lot of the seizures are actually induced by stress, which unfortunately a lot of it comes from running this show. It's tough.
This video was met with an insane amount of backlash from George's dedicated fan base, who really only saw him as the characters and never saw him as a real person. This video was soon taken down by George in hopes to keep his fourth wall barrier between himself and the channel/characters up. George mentions in an early podcast with Anthony Fantano from 2015, one of the only times he isn't in character, that he wants to keep himself separate from all that. Like, he wants to give the fans the Filthy Frank show, and he enjoys doing it, but he doesn't want himself to really be a part of it.
I mean, like, when I say I don't want to interact with them, I don't mean it in like a yo, fuck these kids, you know. It's more of a I enjoy the work that I do, and I just want them to enjoy the work that I put out. Like it's not like I don't want to see them. I just I'd like to keep it as like a character thing, and just kind of keep whatever me just out of it.
Yeah. No, I totally.
Eventually, George creates a second channel in 2013. TV Filthy Frank is born. Now, as this channel was originally intended to be used as a second channel for content similar to the content on Disaster Music, just a little bit more stripped down and raw, George is eventually forced to move his main channel over to TV Filthy Frank because the Disaster Music channel began to suffer and struggled to stay up.
I'm not mad at them. I would understand why some people would not understand what's going on here. Now I could keep uploading here for you, but that just increases the chance of losing the whole channel forever. Thus you will lose all these classic, beautiful videos. What can I say? We're simply too filthy for YouTube. But you see, I want to keep the classic videos here for you guys, and I don't want to put them at risk anymore. Because if this channel went down, Chin Chin would not be pleased.
George begins to fully embrace Filthy Frank and the characters in the earlier content on the TV Filthy Frank channel. The content begins to get less and less caring and more daring. It truly embodied the anti-hero of YouTube type of content the original goal of Disaster Music tried to reach. The About section of the TV Filthy Frank channel is a pretty good way to describe how this channel's content really was. It says, Filthy Frank is the embodiment of everything a person should not be. He is anti-PC, anti-social, and anti-Cowth. He behaves and reacts excessively to everything expressly to highlight the ridiculousness of racism, misogyny, legalism, injustice, ignorance, and other social blights. He also sets an example to show how easy it is in the social media for any zany material to gain traction/followings by simply sharing unsavory opinions and joking about topics many find offensive. There's no denying that the show is terribly offensive, but this terrible offensiveness is a deliberate and unapologetic parody of the whole social media machine and a reflection of the human microcosm that the social media is in. And unapologetic this content will come to be on the Filthy Frank channel. Around 2015, George begins to start collaborating with some other YouTubers you might know the name of. iDubbbz TV, Anything for Views, Max Mofo, How to Basic, and a few others. These guys start creating videos together and really start gathering a following and a fan base for how wild and funny they were together.
Hell yeah! Kill it! One for you, one for you. Woo! Wait, turn it right, turn Warren. Oh! Yeah! I'm making a share. I'm making a share. Cancer. Filthy.
Blue Smurf boy.
Like people say, I'm a good hide here.
At PAX instead of eating beggars at MASH.
These guys create the group that is known as the Shrimpson Boys, which the name apparently has no relevancy, and neither does the group according to the Filthy Frank fandom. It was never really quite confirmed exactly who was a part of this group, but most people like to say that these guys were really the Shrimpson Boys because of their collaborations together. They all kind of blew each other up, and all of their channels became popular because of each other and their wild and unapologetic humor. Now, while this channel was growing and George's fan base was growing, that same interest in making music never goes away. He never really stopped making music as a hobby. On the Filthy Frank channel, he posts meme songs where he would rap offensive things and be humorous, and some of these things are actually kind of impressive for being meme songs.
Kill yourself. The fuck? Please kill yourself. The fuck? You should really kill yourselves. The fuck? Please kill yourself. The fuck?
Towards the end of 2016, the content on the Filthy Frank channel started to become more and more music driven, creating real songs as the characters from his show. Throughout 2016, George teases the release of a studio project in his videos and on Twitter. He also teases of a real project that he was working on that was real music separate from the characters. However, this idea of a real project away from the characters was put away by George, saying that he can't do both and that he has to embrace the characters and put himself away. Then, on January 4th, 2017, George pushed out the studio album Pink Season out of nowhere independently. Pink Season features a whopping 33 tracks spanning an hour and 16 minutes. The songs on Pink Season were meme songs that fit essentially right in with what was being created on the Filthy Frank channel, some of the notable ones being Nickelodeon Girls, Me Machine, Dumplings, and Rice Balls.
I'm just trying to get an erection, but now that these kids looking 13 and under, my penis will suffer. Damn fucking Schneider! This ain't a fucking game, bitch! I wanna watch a sitcom with my hand on my dick.
There are just so many songs on this album, and to be honest, there are really some solid ones. However, there was a little bit more to this album than expected. On a lot of the songs, George talks about the Filthy Frank personas, saying lines like, "I'm here to be an act, not a role model," and "I've been dying since day one, but y'all know that." There was also more than just memes on this album as well. Apart from lines where Joji says how he really feels, there are tracks with real musicality to them. Some just a chorus or verse, but there is an entire song that mirrors the style you hear in early Joji music. These tracks include Fried Noodles, She's So Nice, Rice Balls, and We Fall Again.
She lets me use her body, but she's so nice, but she's so nice, but she's so nice. We fall again, we fall again. Oh yeah, we fall again.
Shortly after the release of this project, Joji is signed to 88 Rising and pushes out the EP Pink Season The Prophecy, which includes remixes of songs from the album. It is also around this time, about a month after this release, behind the scenes, we are teased of the release of the real musical project George had before teased about, along with the release of Pink Season. This project was called Chloe Burbank Volume 1 and was supposed to have a commercial release in 2017 under 88 Rising. On April 26th, 88 Rising pushed out the song I Don't Want to Waste My Time by Joji. This song quickly became the most notable song of Joji's yet, pulling in over 20 million views and counting. This song would show people Joji's true potential in music and how much he had really grown. It is around this time, at the earlier part of 2017, where George's uploads to the Filthy Frank channel start to heavily slow down. The clear focus was starting to move on to his music career. So on September 27th, 2017, the Filthy Frank show and its characters say one last goodbye, and the final upload is made to the channel.
The idea that you're so small compared to the rest of the Omniverse can be frightening, yet comforting. It just depends on who you are. Some of us want to keep exploring, some of us just want out.
With the release of this final video, George also releases his book titled Francis of the Filth, which is the story of the entire Filthy Frank and characters universe. It starts at the beginning and ends the story up. It was a nice way to send off the 7-year running series. 1 month later, a video is uploaded to the 88 Rising YouTube channel titled This Is In Tongues by Joji, November 3rd, teasing the release of a new project by Joji. But with this teaser, fans started to question on whatever happened to a studio release of Chloe Burbank Volume 1, and it was later confirmed that there was no way for it to be released because of an inability to clear samples on the record. However, the album is still available to listen to from re-uploads of tracks by fans on YouTube and on SoundCloud. On November 3rd, Joji drops the EP In Tongues, featuring just 6 tracks. This project contained tracks like Will He, Demons, and World Star Money, some of Joji's most popular songs to date.
You're taking my heart now. You're taking my heart now, and I don't know why. And I don't know why.
1 month later, Joji released the music video for the song Demons and announces the dates for a US tour with other 88 Rising artists such as Rich Brian, Keith Ape, and Higher Brothers. In January the next year, Joji hops on a track with Chris Wu, Rich Brian, Trippie Redd, and Bauer for the song 18, which featured a pretty solid verse for Joji where he talks about his change from his old life to where he is now.
They said that I won't make it. They said that I won't change. They say that I'm not flexing. Now they say, wow, you've changed. Now they say, why you changed. Now they say, why you changing. Yeah, they ask why you changed when the rest ain't looking like me.
Now Joji is in full music making mode. He's finally achieved the dream he's always had. A few months later, he released a song that he performed on his American tour titled Yeah Right, which is to this day one of my favorite songs by George. Then we don't hear from Joji for a couple months about music, but fans are starting to speculate about a possible album in the works. Then on September 7th, 2018, Joji announces the release of a new song titled Slow Dancing in the Dark, which came out 5 days later. His most popular song, blowing him up and attracting almost 150 million views on YouTube and over 350 million plays on Spotify. Joji soon released 2 more singles titled Can't Get Over You and Test Drive and announces his debut album Ballads 1, which was set to release on October 26, 2018. When the album dropped, it featured a fairly short but sweet 35-minute runtime and a nice 12 tracks, including the previously released singles and some new ones such as Attention, No Fun, and a song with Trippie Redd titled R.I.P.
Now would you hate me if I ran like hell in the wind from dawn till dusk? When you cry, you waste your time over boys you never liked.
Then throughout the beginning of 2019, Joji tours Ballads 1, celebrating his journey from where he was to a debut album. After this, it was back to the studio for Joji. Other than the tease of a possible upcoming Head in the Clouds album from 88 Rising, which is a collaborative album featuring all 88 Rising artists, released by 88 Rising themselves, usually once a year, there wasn't much to hear from Joji. Then on June 13th, 2019, Joji releases the single Sanctuary and releases the sci-fi inspired music video the next day. This song would quickly become one of Joji's best songs production-wise, and shows a love-struck melodic type of structure.
If you've been waiting for falling in love, baby, you don't have to wait on me. 'Cause I've been aiming for heaven above, but an angel ain't what I need.
Eventually, 88 Rising pushes out their Head in the Clouds 2 album, featuring Joji on a few tracks, but other than this, Joji doesn't release anything for the rest of 2019. Then on January 27th, 2020, Joji tweets a clip with the caption "Run" and the message 10 days at the end. On February 6th, the song is released. Titled "Run," the track is a step in a new direction musically and features distorted guitars with a 90s alternative style to it.
I tasted your skin, and though this is tragic, at least I found the end. I witness your madness.
The video was given a music video, which follows up the sci-fi Sanctuary music video. We don't hear much from Joji for a couple months until on April 9, 2020, Joji posts a video to his own YouTube channel, Joji, not Filthy Frank, Pretty Boy, with the description "Not Song," featuring a song made by Joji and a video of characters in the background.
I'm a pretty boy living on the west side, living so loud you could never hear me cry.
On April 13th, Joji tweets a video with the caption "April 16th," teasing the release of new music. Throughout the next couple days, Joji releases the name and a cover for a new single titled "Gimme Love."
Give me love, give me love, give me love, give me love when I'm low.
Along with this release, Joji announces his sophomore album Nectar, set to release on July 10th of this year. With the upcoming release of a new album, Joji has his eyes set on gold. He's come a long way from the Disaster Music channel. George truly has shown that there's no reason why you shouldn't chase the dream that you want to, no matter what situation you're in. Joji's music has become a staple for R&B and lo-fi and hip-hop style of music. The story of Joji is a fascinating one, and one that even the biggest Joji or Filthy Frank fans might be surprised by. Coming from creating a whole universe storyline of filthy, humorous characters to creating lovely melodic songs, Joji is creating a name for himself and making sure you don't forget it. I'm Blue, and this has been the story of Joji.
The sun will shine.